Hi guys, it's October here, your Tuesday's host for Planet Pathings. Today we're talking about the first spell we ever remember doing. So I wanted to talk about this in sections. Excuse me, I'm just putting the keys down here. The first thing I wanted to share in this video was about how we manifest things and how we may have manifested things before we were even aware we were doing so. For example, I think many people have heard of this before, talked about this before, when it's been discussed about sometimes such a simple thing like blowing a candle out of a birthday cake can be something classed as manifesting a wish, therefore in some respects a form of a spell, because you are putting your intent into what you want to come true, what you're trying to manifest to come to fruition. So I think pretty much most of us in our everyday lives have done that. So I wanted to share the fact that sometimes we are actually doing spell workings in the most mundane of everyday things, such as being mindful, for example, when making a cup of tea for somebody, when you are, like I say, blowing a candle on a birthday cake, you are manifesting a wish to come true. So I thought I would share those little things to begin the video, as in to say that quite often these type of things are something that we do of a more regular, mundane, everyday thing. So the second thing I wanted to say was I came into practicing my hands-on witchy side later on in years. I remember when I was young, I always had an interest in the things around me, the elements, the moon, the sun, the sea, little things like I used to go swimming in the sea when I was younger, and in big massive deep rock pools, and I always used to imagine things like you know, if there was mermaids underneath the ocean, and what would they be imagining when they look up and see this strange human splashing around in the water. So from as far back as I can remember, I've always had a certain way of thinking which has been with me since a young age. So I would say that when I was younger, it was more a case of connecting with everyday things, like I've said in many videos before, of things like being outside and pottering about, and like rushing indoors to get a jar filled with water so that I could put petals in it to make my own, what I believe to be my own form of a perfume. Little things like writing down little things that I saw when I was out in my meanderings and my walks, with paying attention to what was going on around me. It could be the seagulls floating around and cackling and laughing in the sky. It could be fish jumping in the sea. It could be watching porpoises swimming out to the mouth of the sea from the South Esk River. It could be watching the boats floating in and out and doing their everyday things. It could be sitting on a hay bale and watching rabbits chase each other and play, or the cows in the field just meandering about doing their own thing. So to me, those things were a very important thing to me as I was young. But when I think back to those days now, I think even more so, because those were the foundations. They were what based my whole being on, as in even before I knew what the word witch was. So regards spells and things like that, I would say, apart from what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, probably for me would be more things, not so much spells, but more things that I have wanted to come about. For example, protection of the hearth and home, little things to bring a certain feel about within the home, which are kind of spells in their own right, but more like house blessings and things like that. So I would say the first things that I really would say I connected with, that I can remember sitting down and going, right, I need to do this, would be generalised blessings and offerings. I never became hands-on really until just before I started my journey on my Celtic path. So I had started to do little things, but I did not have an altar until the goddess Morrigan came into my life, so I did not have that go-to space. So for me, once my path turned to the route it is on now, which is my Celtic path, and the Morrigan came into my life, it made me more focused and more home in on certain things. It made me want certain things to be a certain way. For example, I like having altars, not just because they're a place you can go to do workings and to honour deity, but because I like to tend them and look after them and put my own creative streak and my own creativeness within them. I love that side of things, where I'm putting time and effort and creative energies into my sacred spaces, which kind of really is its own working within itself, because tending an altar is, to me, as important, if not as important, as what you are doing when you are at your altar. Tending it, taking care of it, you know, keeping the energies flowing, keeping things just so, which is another thing. Any spells and that I do, or any rituals, which I don't do many rituals at all, but any rituals I do, I like my altar, my Morrigan Sacred Fireplace. If I'm doing any solar or lunar work, where I want to use my little space where I've showed you before, the little circle dish for particular workings within that, I like things to be just so. I like my spaces to be just so. So I think that I do spend a lot of time tending them, which again I think puts the what's the word I'm trying to think of here? The importance on how important it is to maintain your sacred spaces and altars. So I think that that is just as important, if not as important, as what you do when you are at your sacred spaces or altars. So for me, my dailies, as I call them, are things that I am in tune with and that I am doing on a daily basis. I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, see to my son first, then come down, have my coffee, and the very, very first thing I do is I will tend my altar. Now, the majority of the time that will be lighting my particular candles on my altar, and for the beginning of the day I have my Celtic cross on the wall behind my altar, so I light my 3 tea lights there. And I also will light the tea lights on my Morrigan Sacred Fireplace. Now, it used to be that at the same time as I did that, I lit my incense as well, you know, to say good morning and spend some time at my altar once I got up. But I'm not able to do that now, really, because of the alarms that have been fitted that my landlord requested be put in, and because they're super sensitive, I really can't burn incense inside. So I have now started burning wax melts or oils with the same overall intent that I had when I was burning the incense, the same type of thing. And I have my little spritz bottle that I have particular blends made up in. So if I want to cleanse my space, I'll use one particular spritz bottle. If I'm wanting to do other things, I have other spritz bottles with different things in to do different things. So I think that my take on this topic for this video this week will be really to do with the overall tending of sacred spaces in connection with you know, spell work. And like I say, because I can't go back in time, like Spin was saying about she went back to an old book of shadows, I had stuff that I kept written down, like stories and little things that had happened and all that type of a thing when I was young. But I didn't have anything like a book of shadows. I didn't even know what a book of shadows was when I was younger. And then when I was in my teen years, I never really had a book of shadows. I didn't have anything like that until a bit later on. So I don't have anything like that I can go back to where I very first spell I did or anything like that, because a lot of the stuff that's in my early book of shadows is more educational stuff, as in things I've been learning about, topics that interested me, trying to think, little pictures and things that I've put in there are more to do with things that connected with how I was feeling at the time, and what interested me, and certain things like in one of my book of shadows that is from my, I can't remember how old I was when I started that one. I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s or something like that. So a lot of stuff that's in that connected with me at the time, and looking back on that book of shadows, there is a lot of things connected with astrology and solar and moon phases and things to do with learning about that. Really honed into that a lot, and it's a thing that I've started getting back into again. I've not really used that much astrology in my practice, which I think is something I'm going to remedy. So I think that going back into an old book of shadows has kind of spiked that interest again for incorporating astrological side of things and the planets and stuff like that into my everyday practice and things that I'm doing now. So I think, like I say, I can't reminisce and say, oh, the very first spell I did from years ago and go way back. So I would say that more of it is connected with offerings and blessings and tool blessings and home blessings and that type of a thing, which is quite a lot of it I was trying out and learning about to kind of together. But I never actually, I do note things down now, about things I've tried and what I've used, to the point now where I will write down if I'm doing a blend or if I'm doing a particular thing where I'm using particular tools or particular herbs or particular oils. I will take a note of all that down so that I can go back and see how things have fared, and if I want to change anything, if I'm doing it again, do I keep it the same way or do I change it? So as regards that, I would say that's more where I would come back to on this video. Sorry, somebody was at my door there. Yeah, so basically I wanted to say in this video that I can't reminisce back the way to spell work I did a long time ago. So the first spell workings I did were more offerings, blessings, kind of protection work, but like I say, still the early days of learning. So I think that a lot of the stuff I did do when I became hands-on, where some of it was directly out of certain books and certain things. As time went on, I learned to take something from a book, for example the Dark Goddess book by Stephanie Woodfield, and then adapt it and kind of make it my own. So again, that would be something I would add to this video, which is when I first began doing spell workings and offerings and blessings and things like that, that I would go very much by the book, and as time's gone on I have learned to go less by the book, having guidance by certain books, yes, but then being more able to put my own spin and twist on things to make them my own. So the guide and reference is still there from the original passage or section I've read out of a particular book, but then I have added things or twisted it around so it's more individual to me. I think I said in another video before, I think the only blessing or anything that I still do letter for letter, really, apart from changing a couple of things around, not majorly but just a couple of little things around, is the tool blessing in the Stephanie Woodfield's Dark Goddess book, pretty much because I've not had the chance to sit down and work through and do my own really individualised specific one. So I kind of individualise it more really by just the naming of the items that I am blessing to put on the altar, or that kind of a thing. So I would say that this video is more also based on changing things around from how they, from how you first read them, how you first take them, whether they be from a book, whether they be from something you've seen online, and just having the confidence, I suppose, and gaining slowly more experience and knowledge to be able to then change a thing around a little bit so it's more individualised to suit you and your path and your needs and your spell working and your instincts and your intuition and what you want as an end result. So I guess that's pretty much all I can say regarding this topic. So I hope you guys found it interesting, and I will see you next week. Lots of love and blessed be. Bye.